everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with HistoryThroughCards.com. Hope you're all doing very well today. So in this video, I'm going to tell you about one of the greatest hockey goalies of all time, and really a great human being as well, and that happens to be Johnny Bower. And this is a 1958 Parkhurst Johnny Bower, and uh, I'll show you the back of it. You know, the one drawback I think of these particular cards is that there aren't any numbers associated with them, and there's nothing to say that it is a Parkhurst. However, the cards themselves, if you look on the back, they're printed in English and in French. And if you're looking to add a Johnny Bower card to your collection, his rookie is really expensive. It's in the 1954 Parkhurst set. I really like it. I think it's a great card. It is really pretty pricey. I think a lot of Johnny Bower's cards are pricey just because of who he is. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about the man himself. Now, I knew Johnny Bower a little bit. I did some business with him and I did some artwork, and I'll show you what his artwork looked like. Johnny Bower is considered one of the greatest goalies of his generation, and in fact, in 2017, he was voted one out of 100 greatest NHL players in history, and this almost didn't happen. In fact, when he was 15 years old, he lied about his age to get into the Canadian Army, and he went over to England to fight in World War II. But in 1943, he ended up getting rheumatoid arthritis in his hands. Now, he never actually told anybody how old he was when he went in. And so years later, they had asked him about his military service. And someone said, well, wait a minute, wouldn't that make you like 13 or 14 years old when you went in? And in fact, he did lie about his age to get in. So he was about 15 years old. And he got out of the military and he ended up going professional in 1945 with the Cleveland Barons. And a few years later, he ended up with the Rangers in 1953. And the next year, in 1954, that's where you're going to find his 1954 Parkhurst rookie. It's a very nice card. I would love to add it to my collection, but I'm very glad to actually add this card to my collection. I just really wanted something from Johnny Bower because he was a very nice guy to me and very, very nice to his fans as well. And there's actually a quote that he said years later, in fact, and I'm going to read that to you because I thought it was really cool. He says, I enjoy teaching kids the proper way to do things. I had nothing growing up, but my dad always said to me, it doesn't cost you nothing for a smile. Be nice to people, help them out, and they'll help you. I think this is a really cool quote that he says, and something that I think he really stood by. I also think too that you don't have to be a pushover, but you don't have to be a jerk either. I think there's a lot of energy, needless energy spent by being a jerk, or more energy, in fact. And it being nice will come back at you, especially if you're a dealer too, because how many kids could you help build their collections as a dealer, right? I mean, when I was a kid, I really had a few older collectors take me under their wing and teach me the ropes of the hobby. And I later on uh, worked in a store, a card store, and I didn't get paid, but that wasn't really the point. I wanted to be in the action. I wanted to be in a card store. I wanted to see how it worked, and it was really nice of the dealer. I think I mentioned before. His name was Scott T, and he really kind of showed me the ropes of everything and kind of like how to treat people. So that's really kind of interesting that he would say that. But as I said before, Johnny Bower is really great to his fans. He was always there for an autograph too. He's actually a part of 4 Stanley Cup championships with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and these Toronto teams were awesome. I didn't really realize how great that they were, but there was just a lot of Hall of Famers associated with them. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about those guys in future videos, guys like George Armstrong and Alan Stanley, and Tim Horton, obviously. It was just a fantastic group of players on these teams. And, Johnny Bauer was definitely a major figure in these championships, being the China Wall, as he was nicknamed, right? So he actually won two Vezina trophies as well, one in 1961 and then another one in 1964. He also has one All-Star game. I actually thought he would have more than that. He actually played 8 years in the AHL and had very little time in the NHL early on in his career. I think he actually gets better as he gets older, in fact. And as I said before, he never really told anybody about his age during his career, and it just kind of like came out really at the very end. And in 1969, he became the oldest goalie in the league at age 44, and then he retired in 1970. But he leaves a really great legacy behind him. And I really wanted to tell you about Johnny Bauer today. And I'll continue to tell you guys about the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is a team that I wasn't all that familiar with, but I know that they had some championship winning teams in the 1940s, and they do have a really great history behind them. After his retirement, he ended up working for the Toronto Maple Leafs as well. Johnny Bauer was a part of an amazing group of goalies in the 1950s and 1960s, and I'll name some of the goalies that you probably have heard of. Harry Lumley, who was on the Maple Leafs in the early 1950s, he's in the Hall of Fame. Jerry Cheevers, a Boston Bruins goalie, long time, he's also in the Hall of Fame. He, I think, came up in 1965. In any event, his rookie card is a 1965 Topps card. I really enjoy it, but it's very expensive. Gump Worsley, again, a Hall of Famer. I think he came up with the Rangers, so that would probably make Johnny Bauer the second string goalie. Al Rollins was with the Chicago Blackhawks in the 1950s. He's not in the Hall of Fame, but he's a very popular player. You have Glenn Hall, obviously a Hall of Famer and one of the best. I think he's also in the top 100 NHL players of all time. And then you have Jacques Plante, and obviously one of the best goalies ever. You have Terry Sawchuk of the Red Wings and Sugar Jim Henry, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. He's actually with the Bruins in the early 1950s, but he actually is involved in a very famous incident in 1952 with the Canadiens and Rocket Richard. So, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it as always. If you have any stories about Johnny Bauer, I'd love to hear them. If there are any cards of his that you really like, let me know too. I always love to hear your stories. And again, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it as always, and I will talk to you later. Bye.